So I
So we'll
apologize.
go ahead and get started. It's try to give
We'll
people
go ahead
enough
and
time
get
to get in
started.
here. I always
It's,
get
try to give people enough time to get in here. I always get
quite a few emails and text messages of people that can't make it. But and also our today, I'm going to present on tax savings.
All right.
Hear from him maybe next week. He had a family emergency, so I just checked my email to see why Richard wasn't here today. And don't want to put anyone on the spot, but Damar is working on a pretty interesting project that you might want to fill us all in if you're comfortable in doing that. Otherwise, we'll just go around the horn and do a little bit of networking today.
Are you referencing what we talked about yesterday?
Yeah, about the whole family banking solution and you know, creating a whole our own funding community.
Yeah. So Breck and I got a chance to talk to Minley, who he has 3 different companies, but if you look over time, the wealthiest families have been using this concept for hundreds of years. And if you ever see in like writing where they talk about a family office, that is really what they're talking about, where there are business services that are designed for these wealthy individuals, and we're talking above $100 million in net worth of the family. Typically it's in the billions, and they're able to use services within their family at virtually no cost, and they're able to structure things so that they end up being their own bank. And when you look at that particular model, you see it repeated time and time again. It first started with Ray Kroc and McDonald's. Walt Disney used it. Warren Buffett uses it. Magic Johnson, who's now in the process of buying the New York Knicks, they use it. And the technology has gotten there, with especially with machine learning and AI, to allow technology to structure it so that, using a multitude of financial products, so that you in essence can make money. You can get loans at 5%. You can get returns on your money at 4%. And so from that standpoint, one of the goals as a business coach that focuses on pharmacy owners is getting them set up from the beginning, where they're structured in a way that allows them to maximize their resources, helps them have cash flow, and you know, at the end of the day, they're not worried about wealth because they're structured in a way that allows them to have a competitive advantage. And now that is called the infinite banking. And so now that is now starting to come down to the consumer. And so families, the military, are all going to be able to have access to that, whereas that again was reserved for the super wealthy. And so from that standpoint, we're just starting to get that process, well, to hear about it, and then likewise to start to introduce people to that.
Yeah, thanks, Damar. I appreciate you being a Minuteman on that. So our interest in this is Damar and I both consult with small businesses. You know, main primary focus has been the the pharmacy community, independent pharmacies. And, since the pandemic, we've just seen closure after closure of independents. And it's not because of the pandemic. Those who got involved and helped with, COVID testing and providing, programs around the pandemic did very well. But main reason is just the lower and lower reimbursements that the pharmacies get on their prescription meds when they dispense those. So back when I first started, and Damar's probably been in pharmacy a little longer than me, maybe 2 years, 3, maybe, I don't know. But back 20 years ago, profit margins were about 36% on dispensing medication. So that was a fair return, cover their overhead and could do well. But today, because of the pharmacy benefit managers, the PBMs, getting greedy and working off of spread pricing so that they could make billions and billions of dollars, they only reimburse the pharmacies now about 3 to 5% is their profit margin. So tell me how to stay in business, with the profit margin that thin, unless you're a grocery store or somebody like that is doing billions of dollars worth of revenue. Then 3% you could probably do okay, but not at an independently owned pharmacy. So even on top of that, if you're only making 3 to 5% profit margin, you think that that's bad enough, then the PBMs throw out this DIR fee, a direct indirect remuneration, which is basically a clawback of payments. There's no rhyme or reason to why. I think it's probably they get to the end of their the end of the quarter, and they realize they didn't make the profits that they promised their shareholders, and so they just do a big clawback of millions of dollars in payments. And so these pharmacies are just throwing their hands up, the independents, and just closing doors or selling their files, not their pharmacy, just their files, just the patient records, to the big chains. And like I said, we get updates on that on a regular basis. I had 4 more closures yesterday that were shown to me. So I get updates from the pharmacy, the PSAOs. The PSAOs are pharmacy service organizations that help the pharmacies do all of their contracting. So we're partnered with them, and they give me the updates of where what closures are happening. So the reason why Damar is so interested in this program is to help those individual pharmacies survive. My interest in a program like this is we've always been looking for the right financial vehicle for these independent business owners to expand and get into other clinical services. And that's where the Fountain of Youth comes in, is helping them set up health hubs, if you will, in their independently owned pharmacy, and provide more solutions and services to individual patients, and bring in additional revenue streams. So we've got a really good pilot program right now where that health hub is actually generating somewhere around $25,000 to $35,000 per month in new revenue that the pharmacy didn't have before. So it literally is becoming a lifeline to them. So that's, I appreciate, Lamar taking the time to talk about it. Has anyone else, I know we've got some pretty smart people in here that are talking and dealing with, how to keep more of your earnings. Is anyone else very familiar with that whole infinite banking program? Basically, borrowing from yourself instead of the bank. And I know Phil, you would have some info on that.
Yeah, as long as I've been in this business for over 20 years, our firm has been around for over 100 and some years. So people have been doing this a long time. So it's really not new. It's just that most people are just not aware of it, because there are a lot of I call them financial entertainers out there that talk badly about some of the mechanisms that are used to put infinite banking in place. Actually, the number one user of those concepts are banks. I don't know if you're aware of this. There's something called COLI insurance or BOLI insurance, bank-owned life insurance. Banks have been using this for years. Citibank right now, or Wells Fargo, or even Bank of America have bank-owned life insurance on their key executives, and they run money through those executives all the time. It's amazing that they've been doing this for years and years, and most I'm going to say the average American is not aware of it. Now, if someone is a business owner like a pharmacy, they could do what's called COLI insurance. It's not BOLI with a bank, it's COLI. Basically, it's corporate owned insurance on the key executives, and you could siphon money basically through that and get tax deductions for it and create efficiency of dollars over time. And if it's structured correctly, you can take tax deductions, but then when you get ready to cash out, you pay the tax as you leave, and you can create some efficiencies there. And the reason people use those particular products, basically permanent insurance policies, to do it is because at the end of the day, you never get a loss on your money over time. The money's always going to go up. So a lot of times when people have investing, they have all their money invested in the market, which is cyclical. But with particularly mutual insurance companies, when they declare a dividend, that money's never going to go below the dividend. And most of the top companies in the US, at least the top 5 mutual companies, over hundreds of years, they have an average of between 6 and 8% interest on the dividends for 40, 50, 60 years. So there's a lot of profit in it, just people are just unaware of it. The difficulty that people balk on it are the acquisition costs. Usually the first 2 years are the most expensive. After that, it bears out over time. But if you're doing it under a business umbrella, and if it's structured correctly, there may be some tax advantages all the way through. So it's just that people are just unaware of it. But we've known that. I'm sure Cheryl's been aware of it for as long as we've been alive. So
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a very, very good strategy, right? Because even somebody that's a little skeptical and wants to ride out the stock market, they can take 50% of their 401k and keep it right where it's at and see what it does, and put the other 50% into infinite banking. And like you said, Phil, in a couple of years, they realize, oh crap, I'm literally wasting money keeping it over there in the fluctuating market. Moshe, you had your hand up? You're on mute, my friend.
You may prefer that after I ask this question. Is this similar to key person insurance?
Well, it could be. It really depends on the business and what they're trying to accomplish at the end of the day. Sometimes you can do it as an executive bonus plan. Sometimes you can do it as a hybrid defined benefit plan. There's so many different possibilities of how people do this, but at the end of the day, it's a cash flow decision based on what people are trying to accomplish. Now, if someone owns a business like a pharmacy, usually when they get to the point when they want to liquidate that pharmacy, they want to have a liquidity event. That's a taxable event. But if you've over a period of time taken your money and distributed in some other places all along the way, you actually can have more money and end up paying less taxes over time. Because the reason why people do this, it actually, at the end of the day, it's a tax play.
Mhm.
If you can make your money more efficiently along the way and pay less in taxes, when I say, sometimes we'll get on this call and I say, I know a way I can save 50% in taxes almost every time. That's what I'm talking about. There's structural things that people can do all along the way. Instead of giving that money to the federal government, keep it. A lot of times financial advisors always talk about the 1 or 2% difference they're getting from the competition. You want 2% or 50%?
And that's exactly our goal. Difference. That's exactly the goal that Damar and I are talking about, is having this family of pharmacies that are all in this infinite bank that are co-op members. They're all members of that, so they can place those earnings that come in into safe havens, into the co-op, into their own bank, and continue to grow that and help additional independent pharmacies become financially independent as well.
So
Moshe?
question, what would be different from that than, let's say, having a 401k plan for yourself and your employees?
When you
The
take
difference
money
is
out of
in the
401k, it's taxable, the whole thing.
Yeah, the difference in the 401k, at the end of the day, you're going to still pay the highest effective tax rate when they pull the money out. All it is deferring it. The
Yeah.
reason why people think that there's so much money in it, because they can see it growing on a daily basis. But at some point, you're going to pay taxes on that. And then on the backside of that, after you're 73, you're going to have, RMDs, required minimum distributions on that money too. And if you don't participate in that, the government's going to tax it at 20%. So there's a lot of things going on, but the optimal way is to have several things working at the right time, or all the time, as opposed to just doing one thing. I think that's when people make the biggest mistakes. You should have all three working: taxable, tax deferred, and tax free. And if you have that concept with your wealth accumulation process, when you start distributing, you'll have the most efficient tax strategy of anything that you can do. And at the end of the day, it's just a mathematical equation, and it's provable.
Yeah.
Pretty much every product I've seen for wealth building and doing what we're talking about, infinity banking, is revolved around insurance products, just because of the way they're designed and protected. They're the most regulated industry. If you want to put your money in the safest place, you put it with an insurance company, because they're way more regulated and safer than a bank is going to be. So
Well, I do have to add, you can't just do one thing. If you just do the insurance part, it will not be a winning strategy. If you just do the markets, it's not just a winning. If you just do a 401k, you have to have equal amounts in all three during the whole process, and you can participate in all the different things to get the maximum outcome.
Just one more follow-up questions relates to this. If you're paying theory 50% in taxes, I realize that's subjective. Have you figured out percentage-wise how much more in Social Security they're going to qualify for it if they do it your method? Percentage-wise?
I'm not quite following your question.
In essence, if they have higher income that they're paying taxes on, they're going to collect more in Social Security monthly than they would using your techniques, because they're going to show less income overall. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm
Not
just saying, have you figured
necessarily,
out the
because
drop in-
that may not be necessarily true, because the money that's going in certain products are tax. It's after tax money that's going into the insurance product. It's not pre-taxed.
Okay.
So they're
I
still
didn't catch that.
their income is still going to be at the effective tax rate. You're not taking a tax deduction, put it in certain insurance products.
So what you're talking about, if they're doing after tax, is similar to doing a Roth IRA, which is after tax money that goes into a Roth, isn't it?
Right. The difference between the Roth IRA and some of the insurance products is there's limitations on how much you can put in depending on your income. After you make over $95,000, you can't put that money in a Roth IRA. Whereas insurance product, there is no limit.
For defining all
Bill,
that.
talking about tax and everything, I was reading about America. The top 50 companies in America apparently don't pay any tax at all. I mean, is that true?
That's not true. Blatantly not true.
Okay.
It's rhetoric by people who are making comments to try
politics.
to make a class issue on something that's blatantly not true.
That's right.
In fact, the top 1% pays about 30% of the total taxes we collect in the country. And the top 10%, I think, pay about 50% of the taxes collected in the country.
Yeah, I think that's one of those definitions of fake news, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, listen, look, I had a one-on-one with Jeff Ward, and he asked me to buy this book, right? Don't read it before you go to bed, because you won't sleep. Or else you might ring Jeff in the middle of the night and say bad things. But look,
I started to speak with an Irish accent.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Oh my! Has your doctor been lying to you? I think most definitely they have, you know.
100%.
And
Patrick,
I
you
don't,
made my day.
yeah. And unfortunately, it's not all on them, right? They are
No.
only regurgitating what they know, and unfortunately, they don't know everything.
And also they're very restricted in what they can prescribe.
Yeah,
And if they deviate from that, they're in trouble, potentially.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A good companion book to that, Patrick, would be How Not to Die.
Okay. You mean
How
today?
Not to Die.
Not to die today. You'll die sometime, but not today.
Yeah, I mean, his chapters. It's written by an actual MD, a doctor wrote it, but he'll go through some major disease states like how not to die of heart disease, and then
Right.
a good chapter on that. So
Thank you, Breck.
yeah. Anyway, really fascinating, but yeah, so also scary reading as well. So
Patrick, I think you liked the book, but it kind
I
of,
do.
yeah, pretty powerful. Also written by an MD, a very successful MD. And but as to your point, Breck, you know, I don't blame the doctors, the pharmacists, or the farmers. I always tell people this: I don't blame these people. You know, I hate the word victim. They're kind of like victims, like all of us. I hate that word. But the truth is, we're in a system like little hamsters in a wheel, moving around, and it's hard to get your brain to think outside of it. So
Yeah.
it's getting you to think outside the box. We're trained. We're basically being trained how to live long, unhealthy, sick lives full of medications. That's how we're being trained.
yeah, and we as consumers and patients are part of the problem. We've gotten into this instant gratification need, right? We want to, it's the microwave society. We want everything fast. We want it now. We want it, and so anytime you have an ache or pain, you want to be able to pop a pill and make it go away. So we're part of the problem, right? And so Big Pharma has absolutely capitalized on that. And they said, hey, let's make some medications to make that little ache or pain go away.
Yeah.
But what's happening is the efficacy is maybe 30% at best. Even with the best blockbuster medication, the efficacy is 30%, meaning 70% of the patients are not getting any of the intended need of that medication. Big Pharma doesn't want you to know that, though. They want to sell to 100%, not just to the 30%.
Of course. Can I chime in? Of course. My husband, I'm chiming in. My husband is a pharmacist for over 50 years. He now works for CVS Caremark. He's a pharmacy advisor. So he calls people who are non-adherent with their medications. So I've seen it. I've seen the small drugstore thing. I think that small drugstores, independent drugstores, in my opinion, are a thing of the past, which is a terrible thing. But he's a pharmacist. He believes in all of that. I have been taking supplements my entire adult life. I do exercise, so I'm very active. However, I think that people need to be educated that there are other ways. You do not necessarily have to take prescription medications. I mean, if you eat plant-based foods, you watch what you eat, and you do some exercise, you can live a long, healthy life. I mean, we all have aches and pains. I'm an old woman now. I may not look it, but I am old. The number doesn't lie. And I take all plant-based supplements. If you want information, and this is not a sales pitch, really, this is about taking responsibility for yourself and helping yourself stay healthy as long as you can.
Yeah. Well said. So, Mr. Rocky, you get your hand up, and then we're after your comments, unless there's something so stimulating that you say that creates a whole nother, round of questioning here. We'll do introductions right after.
No, I was just saying, Lee Rosenblum, who was on a couple of weeks ago, showed up at the Brainy Brunch, and he was asking some things about health. I don't know how many people have run into Captain Joe on the networking, the guy that wears out of his plane. Well, he has lost 50 pounds in the last couple of years, and he's went into all this. He actually grows tilapia in a tank and things like that. We did a whole half hour on that, and I really would like to do that on the Brainy Brunch again. So you're all invited to the Brainy Brunch. We can discuss it further.
No, yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize Captain Joe was growing his own fish too. That's amazing.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
That's
when does
great.
Brady Bunch meet?
Dave, when do you meet? You want to
We
put
meet right
your
after
link?
this at the top of the hour. It's 11 o'clock California time to 1 o'clock New York time, and it's the link's in my chat there. It's bradybrunch.net. You can find a link.
Yeah, just go to Dave's bio in the chat and the links there. So, all right, let's go around the horn and introduce everyone here. Most of us know each other. We've got a couple of folks that are kind of new to the group, and so we want to make sure we hear from them. But I always like to start with ladies first. And Cheryl McBride, you're up first on my screen.
Hey, great. Thank you for a chance to share. Definitely Phil is talking right up my alley, and we can help you with that. I also put a link in the chat about the Better Life. So if anyone wants to check that out, we're helping a lot of people with debt reduction and businesses, small businesses, helping them. Well, just like Jeff, we're getting health care for those employees, and we're getting tax credits for them. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm happy to chat with anyone that wants to work on that. And I think that'll be it for now. Thank you for having me. Love this group.
Awesome. Thanks, Sherry. Appreciate it. Sheila, why don't you go next?
Sheila Berkowitz. I am a healthcare advisor, and I am part of Asante Organics. It is a 19-year-old company. Every single product is made from plants. Everything. Certified organic. We have won awards, Nobel Peace Prizes. This company is like a well-kept secret in the Phoenix metropolitan area. Like I said, I just found out about it. If you would like more information, my information is in the chat. It's also a business opportunity. So, but you don't have to do the business opportunity. You can just take the products and feel great. Sheila Berkowitz, Asante Organics.
All right. Thanks, Sheila. Appreciate that. Kind of new to the group, but a friend of mine on LinkedIn is another amazing coach. Ken, why don't you go next and introduce yourself? Let everybody know what you do.
Great, thank you. Nice to meet everybody. I work with sales teams and sales managers, and to make sure they're working strategic plans, that whoever's doing the sales or bringing in the business actually know how to get decision makers on the phone, their ideal targets, that they have a sales process that enables them to close the business that they need to continue to grow. And we do this through ongoing coaching and training. And mostly I deal with manufacturing companies and tech lately. So manufacturers are generally reactive, not proactive, and they're realizing they can't rely just solely on their distribution companies. So they're taking things in their own hands, and we help them to put those systems in place. Tech, there's been a pullback in funding, so they need to really be strategic on pulling things through and closing deals. And then we have a third market, which is financial. We work with banks or insurance companies, some financial planners. So that's what we do. I went to my doctor and he said, you got high cholesterol, you got to go on this statin. And I said, I want to do that. And he said, well, you can go on a statin, come back in a month, or you can take psyllium husk and red rice yeast and come back in 3. That's what I did. So do you sell that stuff?
No, I don't. Why don't you?
I buy that stuff.
Yep.
It didn't work for me. I have to say that it didn't work for me.
Oh, it worked for me.
I take a very low dose of statin, but I am going to get off of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, I just thought I'd ask.
Yep.
And if you want information, is your information in the chat?
Yeah, I put it in there. Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you some information.
Okay,
like.
good. Yeah,
There's
sure. Why not?
Pretty interesting study on Brazil nuts too. Just a handful of Brazil nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like those.
Yeah. So
Magnesium.
I take that too. That's
Right.
what I take, red rice yeast and magnesium. And then sometimes Selima. I'm not really that regular with the Selima.
Red rice yeast is what statins are made from. So
Yeah.
They don't always work.
good stuff. So, well, thanks for
Yeah.
being here, Ken. It's great to see you.
Yeah,
Phil,
thank
why
you.
don't you go next?
Yeah, what I was talking about is you have to have a wealth accumulation strategy and a wealth distribution strategy. During your accumulation phase, if you don't have taxable, tax deferred, and tax free working simultaneously, then your outcome is not going to be the way you want it. You're going to end up giving 50% of your wealth that you accumulated to the federal government. Now, if you're okay with that, you can do that. But if you're not okay with that, you might want to put together a strategy to get the optimal, or we say optimal outcome. And that's what I help people do. Put this strategy together so you can have a winning strategy every time. And this is not rocket science. It's, at the end of the day, it's just a math equation. And that's what I help people solve those particular problems.
Yeah, and Phil is also a super connector, so he knows so many people. If you've not done a one-on-one, it's worth just picking his brain for anyone that you're trying to get connected with, because he is truly a super connector. Another super connector is David Rocky, and also, like he mentioned earlier, hosts his Brainy Brunch, and so he is super connected with a ton of people as well. Why don't you go next, David?
Yeah, my name is Dave Rocky, and my company is Your Office SOS. SOS stands for Supported Outsourced Services. We offer a variety of remote solutions like online business manager and virtual assistant services. So if you're going down to the waves of the details of your business and you're stressing out, you need to be working on your business, not in your business. A good lead source for me is someone you know who needs to recover that one thing they can't recover, and that's their life and their time. So before you drown in a sea of stress, call Your Office SOS, and we'll turn your life from crappy to happy.
Yeah, I love his tagline.
That's cute.
Love it. All right. Mr. Patrick, why don't you go next? And tell us what you were doing besides wanting to become a Texas Ranger. What were you what was the big conference over here in the US about?
In the US, I was at a science conference in relation to cellular health at a functional level. But going back before that, a couple of weeks prior to that, I'm around the table with some friends, and there's a bit of a survey going on, you know, who around here is on medication, you know, and all except one person is on medication, a subscription medication. And I was saying, you know, this is an ideal, these people are ideal medical business models, you know, repeat prescriptions every month, every week, or whatever. So I was saying, well, why are we so unwell? And how do you mean? And then the debate started going on, well, you know, it's common. I said, it's common, yes, but it's not normal, you know? And they said, why is that? And I said, well, why is it that younger people have a tendency to be healthier than older people? And the reason is that they produce an abundance of signals that enable them to be healthier, you know, instructions that enable them to be healthier. And now this is possible to replace these and regenerate yourself. Mm-hmm. And Sheila is right, you know, this is another pillar of health. You know, we need nutrition. People say you are what you eat. No, you are what you absorb. You know, health, nutrition, sleep, exercise. What else? Hydration. Mm-hmm. And now, you know, these instructions, where have they all gone? But we need spiritual well-being as well. And so look, I think this is a great call. It's wonderful to be here. I'm learning so much about money. I know nothing about money. I learned about engineering. As an engineer, you learn nothing about money. You know, you learn nothing about health. So I mean, why did you go to college at all? You know, but anyway, thank you. My details are in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. It's always great to see you, my friend.
That's something.
Mr. Scott Lampier, why don't you go next? I love the products that Scott represents. I've got personal experience there, taking my grandkids on a trip during the height of COVID and keeping them totally germ-free. Love his products, but Scott, why don't you go next?
Yeah, thanks, Breck. Learning everything on this mastermind community is really interesting, between money and health and whatnot. And I think I round out the circle a little bit, is that I want to protect what spaces that you're in, whether it's home or at work or in your car. We have new products that kill germs physically and not chemically, because basically we're poisoning. How we kill germs now is through poison. And so whether it's alcohol for hand sanitizer or bleach or whatever it is for other cleaning products, everything we do is roughly a 98% water, which is kind of like the delivery system, if you will, and the 2% is really high level nanotech material that is patented. And so when you put the hand sanitizer on, and Breck can attest to this, and Bob can attest to this, that you can't believe how it feels, and it's going to work for 4+ hours instead of for 20 seconds. And it won't dry out your hands. There's no residue. There's no fragrance. And the wipes, I kind of call it the Swiss Army knife, Breck. Once you say it kind of does everything. You can wipe your skin off for germs and play areas, especially like for kids. And if your kids are in preschool or anything, you need to get these introduced into where your kids are at, because it makes a difference, because it's safe and water-based, and they just work, and they are very reasonably priced. And I'll put my information in the chat.
Yeah, my youngest son calls it tiny swords. Whenever we're traveling, he's like, "Hey, Dad, do you have any tiny swords?" You know, because he wants to put some hand sanitizer on, and that's what it is. They're little carbon, shards that are 30,000 times smaller than a human hair, but will pierce the cell of any pathogen, and then it burns it up after the cell gets pierced. But so I explained that to him, what was actually going on, and
the germ cells. You're brilliant, dude.
Yeah, and so in his mind, man, it's tiny swords. I want that protection of all those tiny swords on my hands. So good stuff.
So Scott, does this get rid of parasites?
I have not specifically heard or read that, but
get a hold of your lab. Get a hold of your lab guys down in U of A, because I'm sure they would be able to, because it
takes care of virtually every virus, bacteria, fungi, and mold. But parasites seem to be another category that I would have to ask. But like Breck said, here in Arizona, one of the studies was done by the U of A environmental lab, and when they were checking on studying the COVID virus on your skin, after 4 hours, they still could not find a trace of the virus. So you don't get a full log description of effectiveness very often, even on regular non-porous surfaces. So it does amazing stuff, but I just don't have a specific thing. I'll find out though. It's a great question.
I saw a YouTube thing on this guy had a jar with parasites in it, and he poured alcohol in on top of it, and the parasites died. He reminded me of my uncle, who was a raving alcoholic. He never got a cold. he never got a cold. And I couldn't discover why this was. It was all the alcohol in him. They couldn't live. The virus couldn't live. No, there were hidden realities.
Is that uncle passed on now, Patrick? Is he passed on? Because
he has. He was 92 and he in a nursing home drinking vodka. What I mean?
You could go dig him up, and it'd probably look the same as when you put him in the ground. Yeah, Damar, your hand's been up for a while. I know you probably need to jump. And
Scott, can you put your information in the chat, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Just to let you know, we have a hand sanitizer that is all plant-based. You can spray it into your mouth. I had a cut on my hand, and I thought it would never go away. I sprayed it. It was gone in 5 minutes. Wow. So it can be used for a lot of things.
Damar.
Scott, is your product, is it used for like wound care?
Yes, it has
Specific-
we have a wound care product. We have laundry additives, we can make a cationic charge in your clothes that will kill viruses and bacteria for we're still negotiating with the FDA on how many washes it actually lasts, but we have studies at over 100 washes that it stays on there. And the FDA and the home manufacturing are negotiating on what we'll actually be able to label it as, but there's so many uses, the wound care.
Specific to the wound care, Scott, specific to the wound care, tell if you don't mind sharing your own personal story.
Well, being a kid in Arizona, fair skinned, I've had several basal cell things cut off my head. And the last one was rather large, and I had about a 3-inch incision on my head. And Breck seen the pictures, and I healed in about a week, where it normally takes 2 weeks on wound care, because it promotes healing by putting down a nano silicone shield on the wound or the burn or the whatever it may be. And the body says, hey, I don't have to fight infection or anything, and I can just heal. It does it super fast. And so my experience is with this. And then my dermatologist was so impressed, he did a video testimonial, and we provide products to their clinic. So that is definitely one of the things that we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you a little bit more, because I like cellulitis. One of the things with cellulitis is that it's a recurrent disease because you still have bacteria that live in the skin.
I will send you pictures of a cellulitis.
Yeah.
Of a bottom of a foot of a 92-year-old lady that's diabetic, that will kind of like make you. You just can't believe how bad it is.
Guys, definitely connect offline. We need to finish going around the horn, but you are up next, Damar. Why don't you tell everybody what you do?
I'm I'm going to be very brief. I'm a business coach, so I help business owners of pharmacies specifically shift their business to more profitable opportunities. And so that's why working with Breck, I'm able to do that, because he's got turnkey solutions to be able to do that. So that because small business is what runs this country, and you can't run a country when you have those small businesses closing. And so from that standpoint, my stuff's in the chat. Just 2 points. There's a Netflix special that came out, and it talked about blue zones and living to be 100. And it is all based on lifestyle and nutrition. And so from that standpoint, look at it, you will be amazed. And it reinforces everything everyone is saying today, that the system is broken, and it's easy solutions to solve that. Last point, Phil and Cheryl, you guys are the best kept secret. I think that what hopefully technology helps us to do is to be able to hear how you can help people as they start their careers, and businesses as they start their businesses, get structured in the right way, so that the bottom line, when they're done and finished, they're able to sell their business. They're able to have wealth for themselves and and for their family for the future.
Yep. Excellent. Well said. All right, Professor Paul.
Well, I have no magic sprays or pills or anything like that. I think I'm in favor of supporting the small business. And while George Clooney probably doesn't need the money, I'm thinking his tequila that I keep seeing on my TV may just be the answer to everything, and George is a good guy, and his wife's a good guy. They do all sorts of stuff, so we may as well support somebody that's gonna put those funds to good use, right? You know, the thing of setting things up, it's interesting. I'm kind of following this thing because right now I'm fighting Medicare, I'm fighting Social Security. I'm on it, and you know the interesting part is all my meetings are in November. What the hell? That there's a whole month in between, and just one more throw in, and then I'll do my pitch. Did you know that Congress, those brain trusts down there, have not gotten a raise since 2009? So they've been stuck at that $179,000 a year since 2009. So I just thought I'd throw that out because it's an interesting article that CBS put together on just how the whole thing works and everything. Anyway, look, setting up the business correctly has been said. You need to have that plan, and part of that, you've heard me say the Google business page, but let ChatGPT maybe help you with some of that. We do some instruction on that. We ask the questions and kind of create that plan, because it will create the plan for you. The problem with most plans, and you know, I'll raise my hand, I'm guilty, we don't follow it. We know what to do, but we just don't always do it. We don't do it consistently and so forth. So that's part of what I try to do. I'm also going to be holding a class next week. It will be in the new Facebook group that I believe a number of you've already joined. And it's going to do this. We're going to show Breck Rice how to create, you know, or how to post up 100 YouTube videos, clips that you can then put in and do that. And you're going to do that very quickly, all of you. And I'm picking that number out of the air. It could be 500. That number doesn't matter, but all of it will be created very quickly. And then again, it's a matter of putting it into your calendar, being consistent, and putting that across. So, you know, YouTube videos, Instagram posts, we can do 200, right? If you want to tell a joke, if you want to give a health tip, if you want to do a, sight of the day, we can help you do all of that, and we will create that content very quickly. And people just want to see content. People want to see cool stuff. So let me show you how to do that.
Yep.
And happy to help you out. The information's in the chat, and there's a number of you, Scott and Phil, you're on my list to see, and Jeff. So yeah, you're going to get to hear from me again.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Professor Paul.
One-on-one.
Jeff, let's go with you next. We're running really short on time.
I'll go fast. Anybody think healthcare is broken? Of course, we all think healthcare is broken. It's too expensive, too confusing, too restrictive. It's a mess. Okay, let's just face it, it's a mess. Average family of four in the U.S. pays premium between employer and themselves. They pay $2,200 a month for their premium. That's a mortgage payment. That's insane. And that's the state of our country right now. So we're out to fix that. And we're fixing it with individuals, families, employees, employers, seniors, migrants, and we're the only company that can do it. So we literally the only company that can do it. So I am busier than heck because we're helping a ton of people and a ton of businesses. But if you're tired of broken healthcare for you or people you know, reach out. I can show you how we do it.
Yeah, Jeff's literally working 16 hours a day, but he'll still fit you in. You need to do a one-on-one with him and see what they're doing. It's amazing. Moshe.
I want to go back to what Patrick was saying earlier. My mom used to have a cartoon on the different cartoons on a pegboard in the kitchen, and one of them was, if you are what you eat, I'm fast, cheap, and easy. So anyway, I'll be brief. We're all familiar with the term biofeedback, and that is when you act a certain way, much like if you're driving a car, you take your foot off the gas pedal, your car slows down. Our product, using sonic massage, is biofeed in. Because you're in a zero gravity position, experiencing sound, light, and vibration, you become the recipient of these modalities, and you become the change agent as a result. So that's why we coined the term biofeed in. And I'll stop there because I know you're short of time. Thank you all.
No, I appreciate it. Everyone, if you haven't done a one-on-one, do one with Moshe, get to know him better. Mr. Hamburger, our resident marketing expert, and I need to do a follow-up with you. I need to get on your calendar for your promo you're doing with the Easy Health
absolutely
side. Yeah,
absolutely. First, I'll say, Sheila, nice to meet you. Friends
Same
with
here.
Mike, Danny. I'm JJ and Angie's old neighbor. Asante is an incredible company and some of my absolute favorite products. So you're in great hands with those guys over there. Known it for a long time, long time. Michael Hamburger, Easy Digital Marketing and Easy Medical Marketing. We've got two different sides of the operation. We specialize in the medical side. We bring patients typically to cash pay type doctors. We become a very reliable, very scalable, not having to deal with insurance revenue stream for people that are in stem cell, hyaluronic acid, PRP, neuropathy, you name it. We work, cosmetics, whether it's dentistry or surgery. Been very, very successful helping doctors really make sure they understand the revenue stream there and not having to fight insurance and medical coding and Medicaid, Medicare. As I think it was Paul that was dealing with that. And sorry to hear that, Paul. I always get a kick out of not to revel in your pain, but I always get a kick out of your presentation each week, Paul. I love hearing it, man. But the easy digital side, we basically work with clients. We help deliver results that clients are proud of, whether we're building assets, offers, working on traffic, as well as personas. I've had a chance to work with a few of the people here, just as looking to see what their offers are. Got some cool products on my desk for some of the guys that you can't see because of the filter today. But love working with whether it's small businesses or scale ups. The reality is we're not niche based, other than the medical side. We're not niche based. We always look to see what the desire is. I've got a staff of 25 plus people that work with us full time. All but one are US based, so we don't have any offshore people working. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when I started the company almost 8 years ago, I didn't want to have anything feel like Yoda was doing the translating for us. So it's all English speaking people working with English based customers. We've been working with clients literally on every continent except for Antarctica since we started back in 2017. I always welcome anybody to jump in, connect with me. I offer a quick free discovery, really to find out where your pain is, understand where your goals are and desires are, and help you go from point A to point B and do it very profitably. So thanks for letting me jump out and share today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Michael. Amr, I don't know if you can come on camera, and if you'd like to introduce yourself to the group or not, please come off mute if you would like, and jump in.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm really interested to hear about everything. You said today I came a little late, but first of all, I'm an engineer. I am in Canada, not in US. However, we developed the first virtual pharmacy in the year 2000, and we really did a lot of work for US customers for the last 23 years. But because of our engineering background, we specialize in telehealth, and we have product particularly targeting pharmacies and clinics. So the pharmacies can use our telehealth apps or product to connect with their patients continuously, as well as fulfill their orders and prescriptions, and also meet with them virtually. When they meet with them, our unique virtual meeting platform has language translation, which is very unique for mobile apps. And we use it to provide a service. We call it second medical opinion, 2MD. This service is connecting North American specialists with international patients. This is why translation became important for patients to talk to international specialists in their own language. We also, interestingly, for everyone to know, we are partnered with IBM. IBM like our technology very well. So this is something you need to know, that it is a very robust technology. We have the experience and we have been doing marketing and business in Canada, in US, and overseas. So
Okay. Awesome.
that's,
Thank you for joining us, Amr. And I have a lead for you. So let's connect after. My details are in the chat, so make sure you save the chat. Has
Sure.
everyone here taken the opportunity to do a podcast interview with Bob yet? I know I have. I know Scott and Jeff, Cheryl. Fantastic. You know, you constantly need content to put out there. You can't just do one thing, like Bob always says. You have to do everything. So you need more and more content, and taking that podcast that, you know, when Bob interviews you, and splitting that up and creating little mini sound bites and video, that's great content to put out there on all of your social media platforms. If you haven't done one, or if it's been a while, do another one. You know, Bob loves doing them, and it's just great content for you to get more exposure. Also get on the mycity.com platform, totally free, but another place. But when people are doing Google searching, they'll be able to find your services, or you, if you're your own personal brand. So we want to make sure that everyone's taking advantage of these solutions. I put one more link in the chat. I think most of you are familiar with my content. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. So if you are not subscribed yet, that'll be a big help to me, is just go subscribe to my YouTube. We have over 100,000 patients that are following the content, but they're out on a different platform, and I'm trying to get more exposure on the YouTube platform. So please save the chat. Go to the bottom of the chat there on the far right-hand side. You'll see the three little dots. Click on those three little dots and save to save the chat. We're well over time today. If anyone was wanting to jump into the Brainy Bunch brunch meeting with Dave, please grab that link off of the chat, and we'll see you over there in that meeting. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you being here today.
thank you.
Good chat, good conversation. Without going into the presentation that we'd planned today, we ended up having plenty to talk about.
Sure.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
See you, Patrick. All right. Thanks. We'll see ya.